Great, so we got the script working for one page, so for the first page, but we may have multiple pages there. So like for Rock Springs we have 3 pages with 28 listings, so 28 properties listed there for sale or for rent. Actually they are for sale, so homes for sale. So this is the second page with 10 more properties, and then you have the last page there, which should have 8 properties. So we have 28 in total. Now this is a small town, so it doesn't have many listings there, but with big cities you'll have lots of pages. And the script that we will be building to extract property data from these pages will work with any number of pages. How do we go about grabbing data from all the pages? Well, there's no magic there, but there is a simple trick. You know, if you search again for Rock Springs, you'll see an initial URL there, which we loaded in Python. I think it was without this k equals to 1, so it was like this only. So I'm not sure what the k meant there, but anyway, maybe it was because I searched again for Rock Springs. So this is the first page. Now the logic behind extracting the data from the other pages is what we need to do is we need to load the other pages in Python as well using requests again. So just as we did here, we loaded the first page. Now we need to figure out a way to load the other pages. We can either go manually through each of the 300 pages, 3 pages in this case, and copy the URL, or we can try to figure out a way, so to figure out the rule, if there is a rule that the URL changes when you switch through the pages, and it probably always be a rule there, so we need to find that out. So I went to the second page, and as you see now the URL changed with some extension there. So t equals to 0 and c equals to 0. If you go to the third page, you see that the URL before 20 didn't change, but c was changed to 20. Now if you go to the first page again, you'll see that s is equal to 0. So when you search for Rock Springs directly, you get the base URL there without this extension. And then if you go to the first page manually by clicking the number 1 here, you'll be included in the rule that changes the URL when you move throughout the pages. That means we can use this URL to grab the first page, and then we can loop through the URLs and change this value to 10 as we iterate. So increase by 10. So from 0 and 10 and 20, and if we have more pages that would be 30 and so on. So I hope you get the idea. Let's now go ahead and let's say so let's store a base URL there, which should be something like this without the number. So this is the static URL. And now, before we request the source code with requests, let's first try to build URLs and print them out. So we're using a print statement, as always, to try things out. So let's say for page in range, well, the range should start from 0 and up to, we had 3 pages there, and the last page had an S of 20. So maybe put 30 there and then iterate with a step of 10. So at each iteration we will increase by 10. For now, don't worry about the number of pages. For now we are just putting a value manually, so we know that this has 3 pages, so I'm putting 30 there. But later on we will change this to actually a variable that grabs the number of pages from the website. So if instead of Rock Springs you'd have New York, and you'd get probably 200 pages, so you want to grab the number of the last page, so 200, and then pass something like 200 times 20 here, so you get 2000, and you get a loop that goes to 0, 10 and up to 2000. So we'll do that later. For now, print base URL plus, well, this page variable would get an integer, so we need to convert that integer to string using the string method, and then page goes inside that. So let's try this out. And yeah, these are the 3 links. Let me open one of them. Here we go. And this is the second set of results. So it's page 2. Great. Let me close this. But of course, printing is not what we're interested about, so we don't want to print the URLs, we want to get the source code of them. So what you want to do is r equal to requests, so you're inside the loop, and later we will merge this loop with the other code. So let's focus on this for now. Get base URL plus the string of page number. And just after that, you want to grab the content of requests and also make the soup. So beautiful soup C and HTML parser. And for now, let's try to print out the prettified version of the soup object. Great. And that took a while, but here is the result. So in the first iteration, we got the URL printed out by this function, by the print function, and then we got the prettified version of the source code for the first URL, which is quite long. So anyway, you get the idea. So that seems to be working, but what we need from all this source code, so we have the source code of all 3 pages, so we don't need to print all the source code, but we only need to extract the property row divisions. So just as we did here, so we got the soup for the first page, and then we created an all variable there. So we do the same here, but this time it should be indented because it's inside a loop. So all and property row class division, that looks good. So if you print it just to check all, and here is the result. So the first URL printed out, and then you have these divisions, and then you have quite a lot of data here as well. So now what you want to do is you want to grab all this code that you just built there, and maybe delete this and delete the entire cell, and you want to put that code up here. Great. And now next thing is, you did this for 1 page, and now you're looping through all the pages. So what you want to do is you want to indent all this block on the right, so that this block becomes part of the for loop there. So control and the closing square bracket to indent selected text. So now this loop here will run as many times as there are pages there. So what can we do now? Well, we can try out the code. So let me execute this, shift enter, and we have to wait a bit. Yeah. So that looks like it's working. And so at this point we should have the L list there with all the data. Here we convert that L list to a data frame. So let's execute this. And then here we execute the data frame. So let's see now. Yep. And so we have 25 rows because we start from 0. But we had 28 listings actually. So that means these last 3 properties have not been listed here because something happened there. So we are in page 3 here, and the last successful one was Went Avenue. So we look for Went Avenue. Here is Went Avenue, so it has an address and the locality, so Rock Springs. And then the one after that, it has only the locality there. So in that case, what you could do is you could try to handle an exception here in the code. So for this one here, we could say try to do that and except the locality equals to none. And now I'll execute this again. Let's hope we don't get an error there. Yeah, that was successfully executed. Execute that on the data frame. And let's see. Yeah, now we seem to have 28 rows there. So that seems to be working. And the last thing you want to do is, instead of passing this range manually here, we could add actually a variable that detects the page number. And all we have to do is we go to our website. Let me remove this. So you want to figure out where this last number is being rendered. So that is the indicator of the number of pages. So we have 3 pages in this case. Inspect that. And so that brings us to this point. Actually, in this case, it says page, current page. So let's go to the first page. And let me close this. So we are supposed to be at the first page when we run the script for the first time. And in that first page, so we want to grab the content of the first page, and then we want to know the element of that last number there. So we see that that's the A element with class page, and here is the text, so 3, and that should be actually the last element with a class of page. So we'll have quite a few elements with a class of page there, and this should be the last one. Yeah, so that should be the last one, so we keep that in mind. And we go here, and what we can do here now is, or let's grab that page number in here. So page, let's call that page number, that would be equal to soup. So soup will contain the HTML code of the first page. So this one here, which is not an AJAX request, so it's a simple one of this page. And so we want to find all A elements with a class of page. And so if I print that out just to see what we have so far, page number. See, we've got a few elements there, but the last one is the last page number, so 3, that's what we need. So we need to grab the last item of the list, which means -1, an index of -1, and text, and yeah, we got 3 here. And so we need to transform this number now into 30, and the way you do that is just page number times 10. So that would give you 30. Well, almost, because this page number is actually a string here. Type another bracket. So it's type string. And that means you need to add integer here. So you want to convert this string to an integer and then multiply it by 10 so that you get 30. So that should do it now, and everything should work, I believe. So let me execute this. The URL are being printed out and the script finished. So when you don't have the busy text before the title of your file here, that means the script is running. So now we don't have that, so the script finished. Execute that, and this is our results, and export it to a CSV file, and let's check. So output.csv, and here is the data. So we don't have any repetitions here. No, everything looks unique. And that closes this section of web scraping. So if you want to find other localities, so I tried this for Rock Springs, but you can try it with any other localities. So all you have to do is change the URL, or you could even implement some user input. So the user enters a name, and then you construct the URL, and then you pass the URL in here. So we don't need this. Clean this up as well. And if you want, you can merge this cell with this one, so you can execute the entire script in one cell. And you can also save this, so download it as a Python file, and you'll get all the source code, so the Python script, and plus these lines, but with a comment hashtag, and you can run it as a Python file, the entire script. So I hope you enjoyed this. I know this was quite a bit to digest, and if you have questions, please ask them. I'd be happy to help you. So I hope you learned a lot from this, and we'll move on through the next sections, so we still have very interesting things to do. And I'll see you later.